Welcome everybody, my name is François Letarte and this is my channel JDRD30, a channel about tabletop role-playing games. Today, question 17 of the RPG A Day 2015 series of questions. Favorite fantasy RPG? Well, if you have been following me through this series, or if you're following me in my channel since the start, you already know what is my favorite fantasy role-playing game, and this is Advanced Fighting Fantasy. Yes, and its French version that I use with my French players. Défi Fantastique. Yes, Advanced Fighting Fantasy. Well, I already have a review of that game showing my love of it. And I have a series actually that I have begun showing some aspects of the game. You know, I have an introduction video showing the basics of the game. I have a character creation video, and there will be others when time will permit. I have a special guest today, my cat. Okay, so yes, but Advanced Fighting Fantasy, why it is my favorite? Well, I like old school games, and when I found that game, it was a surprise, as in my most surprising game video. And I was searching for something that was old school but was streamlined at the same time, but that had that special feel to it. And Advanced Fighting Fantasy has it all, and it's very different from those old school games that looks like Dungeons and Dragons in some way. So yeah, it's very different. Why is it different? It's because it was born into that kind of book, you know. Solo adventure game book, choose your own adventure, and both authors Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone, it's inspired from role-playing games, but they created a very simple system to get along with the book for you know, to make it easy to read and to enjoy. So the role-playing games of Advanced Fighting Fantasy is born from that kind of system that is not directly a role-playing game but just a solo game book, and they took that system and it evolved into a full role-playing game. So it's very old school as a game, but for that reason it's very different from Dungeons and Dragons and all the likes. Yeah, so that's why I like it. It's different, and for me, yeah, it bears some kind of nostalgia through it because I was a big Fighting Fantasy game book fan. So far, that game has been, you know, developed with many source books. You know, some of them, Black Sand, about the infamous city that you find in City of Thieves. That, by the way, you know, the map here you see is Black Sand. Yeah, they have monster books. Yeah, one of them, you know, Beyond the Pit, the last one. Some campaigns, you know, the Crown of King campaigns. Yeah, Hero's Companion, which is some supplemental rules for the rule book. It's a good one. Well, Titan, I've talked to you about it. I've shown you the French book. This is the English one. So yeah, they have a couple of stuff around, but the main rule book is quite enough to run the game in. If you are already a Fighting Fantasy fan, you know, you can base off your monster directly from the book, and it will work well. So yes, that's the kind of game I was searching for, and I found it. That's why it's my favorite. I have nothing against more modern systems that makes the game more streamlined, but I wanted that feel, you know, that kind of unbalanced feel for the game. It's a little unbalanced as a game, but it goes so well. Yeah, it feels old school, but it has been renewed into this edition, and it kept all its flavor. In fact, it's more than that. It really kept the flavor of the game books. You know, what we know from the game books, especially the old ones, you can recreate it very easily with the role-playing game, but with all the enjoyment of what a role-playing game can bring. Yes, so yeah, that's why Advanced Fighting Fantasy is my favorite one for all these qualities. Well, some honorable mentions for a fantasy game. I can show you some of them. Let's say, yes, this running fantasy game to that kind of game, percentile type of game. I really like that. I used to run some campaigns with basic role playing. It was very enjoyable. I will redo that someday. And Legend, yeah, I've tried Legend with Elric, and while Stormbringer is a basic role playing rule set with the world of the Young Kingdom. I'm really a fan of that series. I really like that world. I like to play in it. And yeah, I will have a campaign in Elric at some point. I don't know which with what system I will run it. Probably it's BRP like, but we'll see. But I'm a big fan of the Young Kingdoms. Another honorable mention, well, of course, Dungeons and Dragons always in my list. I'm showing you that book because it's my favorite one. Yes, it's a very imperfect book. It's the rule as it was when it began with some modifications. But I like this book. And yeah, I really love that book. I love to flip through it. For me, it's very inspiring. And yeah, it gives me idea for other games. I can improve many things that inspires me in that. I can bring it to another game, and I can improve it. So yeah, the honorable mention for Dungeons and Dragons, of course. Well, especially more older type of Dungeons and Dragons, and yeah, the 5th edition is quite well. It can be mentioned here because it came back with a formula that may make the game feel like the old school one. So yeah, go check out my links about Advanced Fighting Fantasy. Yeah, if you have questions about Advanced Fighting Fantasy, yeah, well, feel free to ask them. I really recommend that game. If you have been a Fighting Fantasy game book fan, you will recognize yourself entirely into that game. And if you are searching for a different kind of game that has an old school feel, you can't go wrong with Advanced Fighting Fantasy. It's a winner. So that was my answer for today. Go check out Autocratik's invitation to participate to this event. The link will be below. Take part of this event to spread the word. The goal here is to talk about role-playing games, and in the hope that as many ears as possible will hear what we have to say and maybe get some new players along the way. Okay, so my name is François Letarte, JDRD30, and up to next time, I hope you have as much fun in your life as in your games. Goodbye.